The quiet suburb of Willow Creek had always been known for its silence. Neat lawns, freshly painted fences, and the sound of sprinklers in the morning gave the impression that life here was perfect, too perfect, some might say. But under the polished surface, cracks of tension had always been there. Marcus Johnson had chosen this neighborhood for his family because it was supposed to be safe. After serving in the Navy for over a decade, 10 years of grueling deployments, desert heat, and cold ocean nights, he wanted peace for his wife, Alicia, and their young daughter, Kayla. He thought he'd left the battlefield behind. But war, as he would soon learn, sometimes follows you home. It began one ordinary Friday evening. Marcus was away, working late at his private security job. Alicia was at home, preparing dinner while Kayla colored at the kitchen table. The summer sun dipped low, casting long shadows across the cul-de-sac. Then came the knock. It wasn't the gentle kind of knock you expect from a neighbor. It was sharp. Commanding. The kind of knock that carried authority. Alicia froze for a moment, knife still in her hand from chopping vegetables. Who could that be? She muttered to herself. Peeking through the curtains, she saw two men standing on the porch. Both wore dark uniforms, black tactical boots, and badges clipped to their belts. Across their chests were embroidered patches that read HOA Security Enforcement. But something about them felt off. Their uniforms looked too new, too shiny, as if they had been ordered online. The badges glinted in the porch light, but Alicia couldn't make out the fine details. And the way they stood, rigid, arms crossed, felt more like intimidation than protection. She opened the door cautiously, leaving the chain lock still in place. "Can I help you?" she asked. The taller one, a bulky man with a square jaw, stepped forward. "Ma'am, we're with the Willow Creek Homeowners Association Security Division. We received a complaint. You need to step outside." Alicia frowned. "A complaint? About what?" "Violation of HOA property standards," the second man said quickly. He was slimmer, nervous, with darting eyes. "We've had multiple reports. You need to come out and sign some documents." Alicia shook her head. "That doesn't make sense. My husband takes care of all HOA issues. And since when does the HOA send people at night?" The big man's jaw tightened. His voice dropped, colder now. "Ma'am. Step outside." Something in his tone made her step back instinctively. Kayla looked up from the kitchen table, sensing her mother's unease. "I'm not stepping outside," Alicia said firmly. "You can come back during the day when my husband is here." That was when everything shifted. The bulky man suddenly shoved the door with his shoulder. The chain lock strained but held. Alicia gasped and slammed the door shut, but his hand shot out, gripping the edge of the frame. "You're making this difficult," he barked. Alicia's heart pounded. She tried to force the door closed, but the man was too strong. Then, without warning, the slimmer one reached through the gap, his hand darting in like a snake, and struck her across the face. The slap cracked through the quiet night. Alicia staggered backward, clutching her cheek in shock. Kayla screamed. "You don't put your hands on my wife," she shouted instinctively, even though Marcus wasn't there to say it. The men forced the door open now, stepping inside like they owned the place. The bulky one sneered. "You should have listened, lady. Now it's gonna get worse." Alicia backed up, trembling, her mind racing. They weren't cops. They weren't HOA officials. They were imposters. But why were they here? Then she remembered, the land dispute. Just weeks earlier, Marcus had uncovered something shocking. The HOA board had been mismanaging funds, illegally approving construction contracts, and even trying to take small pieces of residents' land for community development. Marcus had spoken up during a board meeting, calling their bluff. He even mentioned that he had the original deed to his property, one that proved part of the land behind their home never legally transferred to the HOA. It made enemies. And now, standing in her living room, she realized exactly what kind of enemies they were. Alicia tried to reach for her phone on the counter, but the slimmer man grabbed her wrist. "Don't even think about it." Kayla's cries grew louder. "Leave my mommy alone." "Shut that kid up," the bulky man barked. Alicia's fear turned to rage. She yanked her arm free and shouted, "Get out of my house. I'm calling the real police." That was when the slimmer man smirked, leaned close, and whispered, "By the time anyone gets here, it'll be too late." And with that, he shoved her hard against the wall. Alicia cried out, pain shooting up her shoulder. Tears blurred her vision, but through the haze, she caught sight of something, her husband's shadow box on the mantel. Inside, folded neatly, was Marcus's Navy SEAL trident pin. She knew. If Marcus found out what these men had done, laying hands on his wife, terrorizing his child, then war would return to Willow Creek. The imposters thought they were in control. But they had no idea whose home they had just invaded. Because Marcus Johnson wasn't just any man. He was a warrior trained to dismantle entire squads in silence. And when he came home, these fake HOA cops would learn the hard way that some lines should never, ever be crossed. The battlefield was coming to their doorstep. The crunch of gravel under his tires was the only sound as Marcus pulled into the driveway. Midnight. The neighborhood slept, lawns trimmed, sprinklers ticking, porch lights glowing faintly. He cut the engine and reached for the door, but froze. The front door was cracked open. His instincts screamed. Years of combat sharpened that sixth sense. Something was wrong. Marcus moved silently, leaving his duffel behind. He eased the door open. The living room was chaos, a lamp tipped, a chair knocked over. And then he heard it. "Daddy." Kayla's trembling voice. He rushed in. His daughter clung to Alicia on the couch. Tears streaked Alicia's face, and on her cheek burned a red handprint. Marcus's breath came heavy. Someone had touched his wife. What happened? His voice was calm, but his eyes burned. "They said they were HOA cops," Alicia whispered. "They pushed in, slapped me." Scared Kayla. "They knew your name, Marcus. They knew about the land." That was enough. Marcus rose, every muscle tight. The Navy SEAL inside him snapped awake. He opened the hallway lockbox, slid a magazine into his pistol, strapped on his belt. The ritual was second nature. Alicia grabbed his arm. "What are you going to do?" His voice was ice. "I'm going to remind them what happens when you cross a line you can't uncross." The next day, the neighborhood looked normal. Kids on bikes, joggers on sidewalks. But Marcus's eyes were hunting. At the HOA shack, he spotted a flyer pinned to a corkboard. HOA Community Watch, volunteer officers needed. Blurry photos. But Marcus recognized them instantly. The same men who had been in his home. "Who authorized this?" he asked the secretary. "Mr. Reynolds, the board president." Marcus's jaw clenched. "Not volunteers. Hired muscle. A fake police force." That night, Marcus laid it out for Alicia. "It's Reynolds. He sent them." "Call the police," she begged. He shook his head. "The police will file a report. Reynolds will deny it. Meanwhile, they'll come back. Next time, they won't stop at a slap." His eyes hardened. "I'm not waiting. I'm going to them." 2 nights later, he tracked one down. Vince, the slim one, liked to drink at a rundown bar outside town. Through the window, Marcus saw him laughing too loudly over a pint. Marcus pushed inside. Music, pool balls, laughter. Nobody noticed him until Vince looked up. His face drained of color. Marcus walked straight to him, leaned close, voice steady, lethal. "You put your hands on my wife." The bar went quiet. Marcus clamped his hand on Vince's neck, eyes locking with his. "You're going to tell me everything, who sent you, where you meet, or I swear the next breath you take will be your last." Vince trembled. Sweat ran down his face. He knew this wasn't a bluff. This was a Navy SEAL. And the hunt had just begun. The bar froze. Vince squirmed under Marcus's grip, but the hand on his neck was iron. "You've got 5 seconds," Marcus said quietly. "Tell me everything, or I break you." Vince's eyes darted. The regulars looked away, they knew Marcus was dangerous. "Reynolds." Vince gasped. "He made us do it. Said we had to keep order." "Order doesn't mean slapping women," Marcus growled. "What's his real game?" Vince swallowed. "He's selling off community land, pocketing millions. Needed leverage. Thought scaring you would shut you up." Marcus's jaw tightened. "And the badges? The uniforms? Fake. Ordered online. Paid in cash. He told us to make examples. Tony, the big guy, he was the one who hit your wife." Vince trailed off, eyes pleading. Marcus leaned close, voice low and lethal. "You touched her. That's enough." Vince flinched, certain death was coming. But Marcus shoved him back onto the stool instead. "Where do they meet?" "The clubhouse. Late nights. Reynolds keeps everything locked in his office." Marcus's stare drilled into him. "Listen to me. You ever come near my family again, I'll dismantle you piece by piece. Understand?" I understand," Vince stammered. Marcus walked out, the bar breathing again as the door shut. That night, while Alicia and Kayla slept, Marcus sat at his desk. He drew the clubhouse layout from memory, marking entrances, exits, and blind spots. His battlefield wasn't Kandahar or Baghdad this time. It was Willow Creek. Files in the office. That was the key. Evidence to expose Reynolds. He checked his gear, sidearm, flashlight, zip ties. Nothing flashy. Just tools to get in and out. 2 nights later, the mission began. Marcus parked 2 blocks away and approached the clubhouse on foot. The main hall glowed faintly, voices, laughter. Hired muscle inside. He slipped to the back, picked the lock, and entered. The air smelled of disinfectant and stale carpet. The office was locked too, but the cheap door gave way easily. Inside, filing cabinets, papers, a laptop. Marcus's eyes scanned quickly. Contracts. Deeds. Bank transfers. Proof Reynolds had been stealing from the community for years. He snapped photos on his phone, fast but precise. Then, footsteps. Heavy. Right outside. The door creaked open. Tony, the big one, stepped inside, muttering, "What the hell?" Marcus moved like lightning. His arm locked around Tony's throat, cutting his air, dragging him back. The man flailed, but Marcus's grip never wavered. Seconds later, Tony went limp. Marcus zip-tied him, shoved him behind the desk, and slipped back into the hallway, silent as shadow. He returned home with a flash drive full of evidence. Alicia's eyes widened as he set it on the table. "Marcus, what did you do?" "I got proof," he said simply. "And now?" "Now I make sure everyone sees what Reynolds really is." But inside, Marcus knew exposure wouldn't be enough. Men like Reynolds didn't fold quietly. They fought back. And Marcus was ready. The evidence was enough to bury Reynolds, but Marcus knew it wouldn't end cleanly. Men like him didn't surrender, they retaliated. And retaliation came quicker than expected. It was just past midnight when Alicia shook Marcus awake. Marcus, someone's outside. He was on his feet instantly. Heart steady. Ears tuned. He heard it too, the crunch of boots on gravel, hushed voices. He pulled the curtain back just enough. 4 figures moved across the lawn, flashlights cutting through the dark. Badges glinted on their chests, fake, just like before. "They're here," Marcus whispered. He grabbed his sidearm, chambered around, and motioned Alicia toward the bedroom closet. "Take Kayla. Stay low. Don't open the door unless it's me." Her eyes filled with fear, but she obeyed. Marcus kissed her forehead, then stepped into the hall. The front door rattled. A voice boomed, "Open up. HOA security check." Marcus almost laughed. They thought they could intimidate him in his own home. The lock gave way, and the door burst open. The fake cops stormed inside, masks of arrogance and aggression. Marcus waited in the shadows. The first man passed the hallway corner. In a flash, Marcus's arm hooked around his neck, yanking him down. A swift elbow to the temple, and the man crumpled without a sound. The others spun around, startled. "What the?" Marcus stepped into view, pistol raised. His voice was ice. "You picked the wrong house." They opened fire, wild, sloppy shots tearing into drywall. Marcus dropped low, rolled behind the couch, returned fire. 2 rounds cracked, hitting one in the leg. He screamed, dropping his weapon. Another charged, swinging a baton. Marcus met him head-on, disarming him with a twist, then driving a knee into his gut. The man gasped, collapsing. The last thug froze, hands shaking on his pistol. We don't want trouble, man." "Then drop it," Marcus ordered. The gun clattered to the floor. Marcus advanced, pressing the barrel of his own weapon to the man's chest. "Reynolds sent you, didn't he?" The thug nodded frantically. "Where is he?" "The clubhouse. He's got people there tonight." Marcus's eyes narrowed. "Perfect." He zip-tied the man, dragged the others into a heap on the floor, and stood over them, calm as stone. "Tell Reynolds," he said, "I'm coming." When the house was quiet again, Marcus returned to Alicia and Kayla. He opened the closet door gently. "It's over," he whispered. Alicia hugged him, trembling. "Marcus, this is getting worse. What if they don't stop?" He kissed her hair. "They won't stop, until I stop them." Her eyes searched his. "You're not the man I married right now. You're different." Marcus's gaze hardened. "I'm the man who's going to keep you safe." The next morning, Marcus prepared. He laid out his gear on the dining table: pistol, flashlight, knife, gloves. Nothing loud. Just precise. This wasn't protection anymore. It was offense. He drove Alicia and Kayla to her sister's house across town. Safe. Out of reach. Alicia's eyes lingered on him as she left, torn between fear and faith. "Come back to us," she whispered. "I will," Marcus promised. That night, the streets of Willow Creek were quiet. Too quiet. Marcus parked on a dark side road and walked toward the clubhouse. His body moved like a machine, every step measured, every sense sharpened. Through the windows, he saw them. Reynolds's men, drinking, laughing, bragging. Reynolds himself at the head of the table, smug and untouchable. Marcus's jaw clenched. He had the proof. He had the skills. Now he had the motive. Tonight, the game ended. The clubhouse glowed faintly in the night, a false beacon of order. Inside, Reynolds laughed with his board members, sipping whiskey, blind to the storm approaching. Marcus crouched in the shadows outside. Every sense was alert. No hesitation. No fear. Just precision. He slipped inside through a side door he had scoped days before. Music, laughter, and the clink of glasses filled the hall. 2 guards blocked the front, laughing. Marcus moved like a shadow. In a blink, both were unconscious, zip-tied and hidden behind a partition. Not a shot fired. Silent. Perfect. Through the hallway, he glimpsed Reynolds at the head of a long table, smug, raising his glass. Around him, board members smiled nervously, oblivious to the danger. Marcus's presence went unnoticed until he stepped into the open. "Funny," he said, voice slicing through the room, "I thought armies protected their people, not terrorized them." The room froze. Reynolds's smirk faltered. "Who?" Marcus's pistol cracked twice. 2 men hit the floor, groaning, weapons clattering. Another lunged with a bottle. Marcus sidestepped, twisted his arm, and the man collapsed. The remaining thug dropped to his knees, surrendering. Reynolds stumbled back, eyes wide. "You can't just." Marcus advanced, every step deliberate. "You sent thugs into my home. You assaulted my wife. You terrified my daughter. Now, you face the consequences." Reynolds scrambled toward the door. Marcus grabbed him, yanking him like a rag doll against the wall. "You think power protects you?" The board members gasped. "He's been stealing money. We didn't know he'd go this far." Marcus didn't flinch. He pressed Reynolds to the table. "Confess. Publicly. Or I make sure you never walk out alive." Reynolds's bravado crumbled. Blood trickled from his lip, tears mixing with fear. "I'll confess." Marcus recorded it on his phone. "Say it." "My name is Charles Reynolds. I am the Willow Creek HOA president. I hired men to intimidate residents. I take full responsibility." Marcus ended the recording, placing the phone in his pocket. "Good. Now everyone knows the truth. You're done." He shoved Reynolds back into the chair. "Ever touch my family again, and I won't stop at confession. Understand?" Reynolds nodded frantically. By morning, the video spread like wildfire. Residents shared it, furious at the betrayal. Local news picked it up. The board resigned in disgrace. The HOA security program dissolved. Reynolds's friends in the council and police couldn't protect him from public outrage. Reynolds was arrested for fraud, conspiracy, and assault. His enforcers faced their own trials. Marcus didn't care about headlines. He cared about the silence in his home. Kayla laughing, Alicia smiling without fear. That was victory. Weeks later, Marcus stood on the porch, watching the sun dip below rooftops. Alicia joined him, slipping her hand into his. "It's finally quiet," she whispered. Marcus nodded, eyes on the horizon. "Quiet doesn't last. But when the noise comes back, we'll be ready." She looked at him, concern flickering. "You scare me sometimes." He smiled faintly. "I scare myself too." They stood together as streetlights flickered on. Marcus knew the world would always have men like Reynolds, greedy, corrupt, ruthless. But he also knew there would always be men like him. Men who had faced darkness and returned to protect what mattered most. And as long as he drew breath, no one would ever lay hands on his family again.